Friends, we have big news out of Asia. Now, while a lot of you have been breathing a sigh of relief these past few months that central bank digital currencies were kind of kiboshed in the United States, the project worldwide continues to move forward. We have a massive test, a massive trial run that has just been unleashed on a country in Asia, Vietnam. I'm going to talk to you about what's kind of happening there and why they're doing what they're doing, but 86 million bank accounts seized by the government because they would not subject themselves to biometric verification. Now, if you want to be able to use your bank account with your thumbprint, with your eyeballs, with facial recognition, well, go ahead. But I think most of us have a little bit of a problem with the gatekeeping to our bank accounts being authorized by biometric data. We got major things happening there. We got Thailand going sideways. We got AI-run central bank digital currencies being played with. We got Argentina's economy imploding. Their currency is crashing. Remember, Argentina is basically the textbook case for what President Trump is trying to do with reining in spending and responsibility. Well, it's not going well in Argentina. The president down there saying that the market is in panic mode. This is coming from the president of Argentina. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and these are the things that mainstream media just will not cover. All right. Steve, what in the world is central bank digital currencies? Okay, digital currencies are, cryptocurrencies. Now, cryptocurrencies right now are fairly non-problematic. Why? Because they're privately run, they're privately decentralized, they're designed to give individuals freedom and power over their own value, their own money. The problem is when countries, such as the United States or other countries, are like, why don't we create a digital coin that we can replace the dollar with, that we can track every single transaction that ever happens. Just imagine everything has to run through a bank. But then imagine that bank is really the federal government and the CIA and all the other NSA type organizations. Central is the problem. Centrally run, where every transaction has to either be approved or disapproved by the central power. They want this. They want to be able to track every single dime you ever spend. They want to know exactly how much money is going to one person to another person. And you can see that the attractiveness for governments because they get to have infinite knowledge of everyone's relationship with everyone else. They like the idea that they get to see every transaction so that it just opens up all new sorts of worlds of tax. Lots of more transactions that can be taxed. Basically, shut down all the black market, all the off. Just imagine if the IRS had access to every single transaction ever done in the United States. They would love that. They would love that. There would be no more cheating on taxes. There would be no discrepancies in taxes. The IRS would just know everything. And if you get $1 wrong, they would know it. So, President Trump came into office and said, no more central bank digital currency, not here in the United States. Heck no. Now, if you think the globalists out there are like, oh, I guess it's over, let's just stop. It's been exposed. It's been stopped in the United States. No, what they're going back to doing, which is what they've done in so many other situations, is they're doing trial runs in other economies. I remember a few years back, it was a number of years back, I was flying to India. And I was, how did I get to India? I forget, I was bouncing through somewhere. And the day before I landed in India, I was already, been on airplanes. My dad sent me a little text like, hey, there's a problem with currencies in India. Is that going to be a problem? I didn't know what was going on. I got to India, and I'm walking through the airport, and the money changers are being like swarmed by massive lines. And I was just kind of like, that's crazy. I'll just go get my money changed elsewhere. So I left the airport, which was a huge mistake. I didn't realize that we were in the midst, in India, of one of the most massive trial runs for digital currency. India was in the process of, they demonetized their 100s and their 500s, which is a problem. That's basically that's like your $1 to $2 bill, and your and the 500s are like your $10 bills. They basically demonetized all their $1 and $10 bills across the entire economy, which is really problematic because they weren't replacing them with new bills. They just kind of said these bills don't exist anymore. Nobody can do it, and it caused just chaos and pandemonium for the time I was there in India. It was absolutely crazy. But it was a third world country. Nobody really was paying attention to it. Everyone just kind of said, oh, it's those people's problems. Now, it was my problem too because I was in the country. I couldn't change my dollars. I couldn't get cash. In India, what they were trying to do is force all the people using cash to start using digital transfers. They wanted everybody using cash apps, transferring money to each other so they could tax each and every one of those transactions. Yeah, big problem. That was a trial run. It did not go well. It was, I mean, everyone was queued up at the banks. There wasn't enough money to go around. There was just transactions weren't happening. People starved. It was just awful. Now, I survived because, fortunately, I was a Westerner, and I was able to get access to some cash. I had some friends in the country and that kind of thing, and it was okay. But they're doing the same thing in Vietnam right now, and not just Vietnam, but other countries in the surrounding region as well. 86 million bank accounts. There's like, you know what? We're going to close them. They had about 200 million bank accounts in Vietnam, and they said everyone needs to come in and provide their biometric data to verify these accounts so that these accounts get tied to a set of biometric data. So you can't have multiple identities. Now, on one hand, like a lot of these things, you can say, oh, well, there's a corruption accountability thing here, so that's kind of good. When there's full transparency on who is actually moving these bank accounts around, that makes it so that scam artists, fraudsters, and people laundering money for illegal activities can get exposed. So that is good. But in a place like Vietnam, let's just be honest. The organized criminal gangs, they can get around all that very, very easily. All you have to do is hire some poor person to be a front man and then use them to launder your money. They might end up in jail, but I mean, they're just a random poor person that you hired, right? Or blackmailed into doing your bidding. So the criminal gangs, they're still going to get around with whatever they're doing. The scam artists are still going to get around what they're doing. And all the political bribes and corruption and stuff like that, that's going to continue, okay? It might make it a little bit more difficult, but let's be honest, they only are concerned about the corruption of the other guys, right? This political party is concerned about the corruption of the other political party. And usually, these type of things are being pushed by the more corrupt party in the country. So Vietnam, 86 million accounts are going to lose every single, dong, I think, in Vietnam. I think they're called dong. The currency there, they're going to lose every single one of their pennies in these accounts if they don't submit their biometric data. Not only that, but they're also freezing transfers. They have caps on transfers, daily transfer limits, so you can't just move the money out of those accounts. The money is stuck in those accounts until you prove your biometric data. Thailand did something similar, froze 3 million accounts. These are much more active accounts. So in Vietnam, they probably had a whole bunch of inactive accounts in that group of bank accounts. But in Thailand, the 3 million accounts, and I know a lot of you probably hear Vietnam and Thailand, and you're kind of thinking those are really out of the way places. They're really not as out of the way as a lot of people will think. 100 million people, give or take, in Vietnam, 100 million people in Thailand. There's only 340 million people in the United States, including the tens of millions who aren't supposed to be here. Anyway, so we're talking about quite a few people. These are not out-of-the-way economies. A lot of stuff that's being imported into the United States is being imported from Vietnam. Thailand is a major rising economic power as well. These are not out-of-the-way places. And they are really doing dry runs there, trial runs of things that they want to do to you. And you better be paying attention to this, because the two things that should scare you the most right now of the future that's coming up is AI and central bank digital currencies. Now, when you take AI and combine it with central bank digital currencies, this should be something that keeps you up at night. Because if you have a documented ledger of every single transaction that has occurred in the last year across the United States, but then you have artificial intelligence looking for patterns, looking for certain triggers or things, rule breakers. All it takes is the artificial intelligence to look through all that data and start pointing the finger at everyone that they don't like. Whether they just turn it on and say, let's find every Republican, let's find every registered Republican that misstated any sort of tax documents. It's funny how you can just click a little button and say, only look at Republicans. Or, if you want to be a little more sophisticated and more nuanced at this, make sure that 75% of the respondents are Republicans. This is the kind of stuff that's very easy to do in the code. Just put it right in there, and you can just intentionally target by party, by geography, by any kind of attribute that you want to stick on there. Anytime you start doing biometric data, what kind of stuff are you capturing? When you start talking about facial recognition, okay, sure, it's the shape of people's faces, but you know what also it captures is their race. Now, when you start talking about digital currencies linked to biometrics, and then you start talking about reparations, I mean, you can see where this is going, right? What happens if they just program it to transfer a small, minute amount of money from all the guilty people to all the people who are oppressed? A small tax. Small tax that happens. Just, it always starts small. Just like the federal income tax started off as a temporary, small tax on just the very wealthy. And now here we are today where everyone gets the joy of filling out tax returns because H&R Block lobbies Congress to make sure that you actually have to fill out your return. Yeah, I know, you have to fill out your return and send it to the government, and the government then just says, oh, yeah, you did this wrong. Well, if you knew that I did it wrong, then why didn't you just tell me what it was in the first place? The United States is the only place in the stinking world where you have to guess at how much money you owe the government, and then they tell you you're right or you're wrong. That's a really weird and twisted and sick system that exists basically, once again, because we have all these tax preparers, mostly H&R Block, that lobbies Congress so hard. All right, so we got artificial intelligence coupled with central bank digital currencies or government currencies. Then you put those together and there is no privacy whatsoever. We got that happening out there. Thailand doing a similar move, daily transfer limits, We got them closing down, freezing 3 million bank accounts with all the money inside of it. And you know why they're doing that. They want to force people into digital transactions, and they also want to just take that money. Argentina, where President Milei has basically, he's the guy with the chainsaw. He's like, I'm going to cut government, And yeah, he cut government a lot. He balanced the budget and doing amazing things. But there's been a lot more pushback recently. And he started losing election because people don't like not getting all the free money anymore. And more people not getting the free money means that they have started voting against him. And that means he's losing political power. And it's looking more and more like these leftist groups are going to regain power and go back and undo everything that he's ever done. And you know how it's going to go. As they write those checks, you're going to be seeing that his party will never, ever get back into office ever again. This is how countries just absolutely implode. And it's happening in Argentina. Is it telling us exactly what's going to happen in the United States too? As President Trump cuts back spending, are we going to see that the United States follows Argentina with a massive move back against it? I mean, it's the economy, stupid, right? I mean, isn't that what one of the aides to Bill Clinton said? It doesn't matter about anything else when it comes to the presidential election. All that matters is the economy. It's the economy, stupid. That's all that matters. And with President Trump, he's cutting spending, and I told you that's going to impact GDP. That's going to impact when we're not borrowing lots more money and just spending it on the spending spree. There's going to be financial fallout from that, and that financial fallout is going to hurt a bunch of people. And when you stop giving away money, that just tends to be less popular than giving away money that you don't have. And this is why it's so politically hard to do that. It's politically hard to be the party where you're going to cut spending. And so we're kind of going down that path. I know President Trump is working hard the tax cut and the tariffs on other countries, trying to tax the people that are trying to access U.S. markets. He is trying to get American jobs back in Americans' hands. He's doing a lot. But is this going to blow up in our faces? I don't know. But watching what's happening over in Argentina, their peso is absolutely imploding. As the President Milei just said, quote, the market is in panic mode. It's not good, and it's going absolutely the wrong direction. And there's genuine concern as to whether Argentina will make its debt payments next year. All right, friends, that's kind of what's happening out there. Big picture, we see these dry runs happening, these trial runs, and we need to be paying attention because this is the kind of stuff they want to pull in the United States, and they're about ready to start implementing in Europe. These trial runs in these third world countries are going to come to an end, and they're going to try it in a place like the European Union. And friends, that is scary. When you see what's happening over in the UK with police officers showing up at people's homes to confiscate phones and go after children for social media posts that they may have viewed a year or years ago, it's absolutely horrific. And tie that to people's access to money, the social credit score system like over in China. This is terrifying stuff. It certainly is. And it certainly is the death of freedom. All right, friends, let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Do you think central bank digital currencies are coming in the U.S.? Do you think that there will be a movement back against President Trump and the Republicans and moving back towards spending money? Let me know what you guys think. All right, friends, if you want to check out another video from this channel, there's one right up here. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you guys later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.